Devereaux!
I'm Mr. Devereaux.
What's that humming mean?
Beethoven's Fifth.
I never said I was more than I am.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 48 of Kiss Meets the Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Eli Clausen.
And I'm Thing 2.
And I'm Luke Neely.
The young one is back. So, first up, man, the cruise. They knocked it out of the park, in my opinion, with the live show. I mean, forget about, some of the usual staples that they played. All the deep cuts that they pulled out that made it for me, man. What do you guys think about it?
Well, they did have makeup on, didn't they?
They did.
I don't have a problem with the set list at all, but I don't know. I'm sort of stupid because I wish they would have had different outfits on. But I mean that doesn't make the music any different.
Kind of figured. I mean, we talked about that last week. We kind of figured it was going to be the same. Although Eric did, I forgot, he debuted his new drum kit, which was pretty cool. It has the light up Kiss logo on the front of the kick drum on both of them. That was pretty cool. Doing all the chasing lights and stuff. But I mean, what when you saw the deep cuts or heard about the deep cuts that they pulled out, I mean, how'd you guys react? I was just like, holy shit. Like, I feel like we had literally almost called those last week on the show.
Yeah, baffled. Utterly baffled.
So for those that aren't familiar with what we're talking about, just in case, they pulled out, to open the show of all things, Tomorrow and Tonight from Love Gun. Never, ever have played that live before. Amazing, especially to open the show with it. And then, second song, Sweet Pain. I mean, killer, man. Not only that, though, they pulled out Hot and Cold from Sonic Boom. That sounded good. They brought back Say Yeah, which, that wasn't a surprise, but kind of cool to see it come back. Is That You from Unmasked. First time since 1980, pretty much. Great to hear that again. And then the biggest surprise to close the whole night off, it was not Rock and Roll All Night, it was I from The Elder. So that was just insane, man. Like, the confetti and everything. That, I'm sorry, but that was a little bit better of a closing song than Rock and Roll All Night. As
And,
great
and
as
it wasn't the music video either. They were actually doing it live.
Yes. Because they added a little ending to it that made it perfect. Oh, man. Just insane. And then, not to mention, on the second night, they did swap out two songs. So they ended up doing Hotter Than Hell and She on the second night. And then everything else was the same, which, I could let them get away with that this year. Last year they just did the exact same set both nights. But at least they swapped out two songs, and it's two songs that they really haven't done in I don't know how many years. So, I can cut them some slack with that. Other than that, though, did finally see some video clips of the Bob and Bruce performance. Sounded great. Paul and Evan doing some acoustic stuff. Haven't seen anything or heard anything about the Q&A sessions. With Michael James Jackson or Lydia or anybody else that was there, or any of the other bands either, for that matter. Have you guys seen anything? Or curious to hear about that.
Yeah.
I think they did some sort of a I don't know if it was bingo or some sort of a game with Steel Panther, but I didn't watch it. I seen it come up on the
Wow.
video suggestions. So I don't know what that was about.
Wow. So yeah, I'm pleased. I'm not even wasn't even on the cruise, of course, but I'm happy. So
So you better start saving for next year.
I know, right? We all need to.
Absolutely.
Because Paul said on one of the clips I was watching, somebody said something about, "Is this the last Kiss cruise?" He goes, "No, it's not the last Kiss cruise."
Yeah,
So-
I think if it was, they would have already announced it when they
Yeah.
announced the date for next year too. It wouldn't just been, oh, Kiss Cruise 8, and then, oh, guess what, last one, right at the last minute or something. Because they'd be pumping that up for a whole year. But we talked about that a little bit in the past. I still think the cruises would happen even when Kiss is done. It may not be on that level as they are right now, but I think they would still happen. I mean, just like we have the Kiss Expos, those are huge, and Kiss isn't at those all the time, or never have been. All four members, and those are successful. So I think they would keep carrying on.
Didn't Ozfest continue, or
Yeah.
is that still going on?
Yeah, Ozfest is going. They kind of co-branded with Slipknot, so now it's what do they call it? Ozfest meets Knotfest, or something like that. And then one day it's Ozfest, the next night it's the Knotfest thing, and it's all just kind of one and the same now.
Because I know Ozzy said he's going on a farewell tour for 2018.
Yeah, farewell tour. He said he'll probably still, sporadically do some shows, but as far as actually touring, hardcore like that, no more. No more tours like he did back in 1991 or something.
I've seen that Judas Priest posted they're doing a new tour for 2018.
Yeah, I was checking it out, and it looks like the closest.
Detroit and Youngstown.
Yeah, I think that's the closest they're going to be to us. That's a band I would like to see at some point, and
Yeah.
see what happens. I don't know, but man. So, anything I'm missing about the cruise that you guys may have heard or saw?
I guess Paul said they had a belly flop contest, which I never even thought about that, but I guess, hey, why not?
Oh, man. Again, just putting that call out there. I know our last episode went up late because I was out of town for the weekend, but if you guys were on the cruise, we'd love to see some pictures, videos, have you come on the show, talk about it, give us a more in-depth recap. So definitely keeping that out there. Send us a message on the Facebook page, leave a comment here on the video, whatever the case may be. We'll get it set up. So I guess we'll just get into the topic for this week then. Kind of sticking with the theme of the cruise set list last week, we kind of decided, well, Brandon came up with it. Let's come up with like a fantasy or dream set list of pretty much, deep cut songs, tried to be on, stuff that they've never done live, which was kind of hard in some cases, especially now with Destroyer, because now there isn't a song they haven't done live on there since they finally did Sweet Pain. So for the most part, though, for me, during the Unmasked period, it got kind of hard to pick some songs that they didn't do and try to, make it still a solid, as solid as possible set. But it did get a little rough there at one time or another. I think Brandon and we kind of did chronological order, but that wasn't really the criteria, but it's all about the dream set list, so whichever way we wanted to come up with it. So I guess we'll just go one at a time and then just read off your whole set, and we'll discuss. Who wants to start?
Well, let's see. Go ahead and start, I suppose.
All right.
Yeah, I originally wrote down my list, and I'm thinking, okay, I'll probably lose that before we do the show, so I better put it on my phone.
Tattoo it on your arm.
Tattoo it on my arm. Then they have to play it. Let's see. Okay. All right. Well, I started chronological, and it was just easier for me to do that, I suppose. So I started off with, and in my head, I was thinking, okay, well, this could be like a regular concert, or this could be like the Kiss Cruise, like the Electric Show. So either way, it'd be sort of the same.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, if it's a regular concert, you have all the stuff that they can't do on the cruise based on height and size and all that. So anyway, first song I had picked was Firehouse to start the show, because I'm thinking, okay, and this is like a regular concert setting is what my mindset was.
Mm-hmm.
They start the show like they normally do, with the guy saying you wanted the best, you got the best, and then they come out and do Firehouse, and then at the end Gene breathes fire like he normally would. So I don't think they've ever done that.
No, and that would make sense as a show opener, especially breathing the fire. I mean, what better way to tear the roof off right away and really get people pumped up, I agree with that, yeah. Not exactly, I don't.
Well, it's one of my favorite songs from the album, and the first album is a really hard one to just pick one song.
It is, yeah.
But the only way I could narrow it down was to think, okay, well, if this was the first song of a concert, what would I like to see them do? That's
right.
The only way I could decide on one song, because they do deuce all the time. So, that would be the obvious choice from that album. But
yeah, so basically your criteria is the way they do the Electric Show now. Like, it's
more or less, yeah.
There's a lot of the hits and then deep cuts mixed in. So that's totally cool. I mean, like I say, it's all of our sets are our own entity, I guess. So go ahead and just go through your whole list.
You want me to go through the whole list?
Yeah, we'll just do it that way, I guess.
Okay. All right. Well, then the second song, you know how Firehouse ends. And of course, Gene breathes fire, and since he has to have a second or two to rinse his mouth out or wipe himself off, whatever. I figure the next song should be something that Paul starts, with his guitar or whatever. So I thought "Watching You" would be a good second song.
There you go.
Because if you've seen him do that song, he usually messes around with the guitar a little bit before. Not a lot, but just a little bit. He'll do that little whistle like he's whistling at a girl with the guitar, and stuff. So I figured that'd give Gene a little bit of time.
Right.
And then right after that, usually they do two songs. Then Paul talks to the crowd. He'll say a few words, and before they do the third song. So then the third song would be like "Come On and Love Me," and because that's one of my favorite songs from that album. So it was really hard. Any of the stuff from the 70s I thought was really hard to hard to pick, just like one thing from that album, but and then after that, Eric will be doing Beth sort of early in the set, because he normally does it towards the end a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
Or Peter was doing it was towards the end. And then right after that, since there was a slow song, then Paul comes out and they do Making Love.
Nice.
And then right after that, Tommy does Shock Me. And I had a little problem with the next part because I originally forgot Alive 2.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to go back and put in like a medley of All American Man and Rocket Ride. So Paul and Tommy could just like take turns, sort of like the little medley there. And then it goes directly into Paul's solo album. It's All Right was a song that I don't think they've ever done live. Even on Paul's solo tour, I don't think he's ever done it.
I don't believe he did, no.
And it's one of my favorite songs from the album. And then Gene does Living in Sin, because I don't think they've ever done that. I don't know if Gene's done that on his solo tour or not.
I don't think he has.
And then Tommy can do Speeding Back to My Baby, which would be very different just because it's Tommy and not Ace. And I'm sticking to the current lineup just because that's what we see a lot of new videos from and everything.
Right.
And then Hooked on Rock and Roll, Eric will be doing that. I think that suits him as something that off of Peter's album. I think it suits him.
Yeah,
Although I think he could sing any of it.
it kind of reminds me of the song he did on
Yeah.
Sonic Boom.
Yeah. That's what I thought too.
Right.
And then 2000 Man with Tommy doing the guitar solo, which would be very interesting. And then 2 songs in a row from Tommy right after that is Torpedo Girl, which I would love to hear anyone do that song, Ace or Tommy. You know, because I don't think Ace has even done that song, really.
Mm-mm.
If he has, I haven't heard any of it live. And then, of course, Mr. Blackwell is something that they really need to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then War Machine right after that. And then Fits Like a Glove right after that. So you get 3 in a row from Gene to give Paul's voice a rest. So actually you have 1 from Eric, 2 from Tommy, and 3 from Gene before Paul sings another one. So actually,
yeah.
no, right, you'll have 1 from Gene, 1 from Tommy, 1 from Eric, 2 from Tommy, and 3 from Gene.
Yeah, so there's 8 songs before Paul sings again.
And then Paul will be doing Thrills in the Night from Animalize, and he flies out to the crowd during that and does his little thing. And right after that, he's still out in the crowd because I know what they were doing in Vegas. He flew out for Love Gun, I think it was, and stayed out there for Black Diamond before he came back.
Yeah.
Part of Black Diamond.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, he's doing Tears Are Falling right after that. He's still out there on his little pedestal thing.
Yeah, he did that at the show we were at.
Right. Yeah, he has been doing that for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's back on stage and they do Crazy Nights. And then Eric does a drum solo for that, which would be very unusual. Because I don't think they do I don't think he does a drum solo anymore.
No, not as far. No, I guess just the thing and Look It Up is probably the closest thing to a solo now.
Probably.
Wow. Those are probably three of the hardest Paul songs to sing right there.
Yeah,
his voice is going to be.
I made the list. That's going to kill it right there. And then right after that is Forever.
Wow.
And I don't really think he could physically do that.
No.
I was thinking of that and then forgot about it as I was making the list.
Yeah.
Even back in the day, I think that would have been a killer.
Yeah, I think it would have because. Yeah, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4 songs in a row there. So sorry, Paul. And then after that is Unholy, and then Gene flies to the rafters and does his blood thing,
Mm-hmm.
I really wanted God of Thunder in the list, but I've only seen him do Unholy on that DVD. I don't know if they were doing it on that whole tour or not. And then a song that nobody likes, but I like it. I Finally Found My Way to You, and I'd like to hear Eric sing that. Because I think Eric can sing that really well. And then Modern Day Delilah, just because I never get tired of that song.
Actually, Eric singing that song would probably help that song.
I'm sure it would change the dynamic of it a lot. Because I think he can hit notes that would enhance the song if he tried.
Oh, yeah.
So then Modern Day Delilah is after that. And then All for the Love of Rock and Roll, which was the Eric song off of, I guess it was Sonic Boom, wasn't it? Or off of Monster. That's off of Monster.
Now, what about Carnival?
Oh, I forgot that one. Oh, I knew I was forgetting an album. I totally forgot that album. So let me inject a song in there because I have to have that album in there for sure. Just because they've never done anything off the album, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
well, let's see, it would go in between uh, Unholy and I Finally Found My Way to You, right?
Right.
So I would probably pick Rain just because I love that song. And I'm more familiar with that one because they actually played that one on the radio. I've heard it a few times, not
Oh,
recently.
wow.
Nice.
TUE played it when it first. I don't know if the album I don't think was out, or maybe it was, but I remember hearing that on the radio.
Did you do Killers?
No, I skipped over Killers because I forgot,
Okay.
so I didn't go back. And then I thought, if this was like a true concert setting, they have to do an encore of something.
Mm-hmm.
So I just went ahead and threw together Detroit Rock City and King of the Nighttime World back to back, like on the album.
Nice.
And then the last song was Rock and Roll Night to be traditionalist. Just because I couldn't think of anything else at that point.
Right. That's a pretty solid set. I could pretty much see them doing that.
That's a long list. I don't know how many songs it is altogether. But that's a long list. I don't think they would be able to do that now. Although, if you watch a lot of look at a lot of set lists from the cruise, that's a lot of Kiss songs they played, considering the acoustic show and
Oh yeah.
the whole stuff he did with Evan and all that stuff. There's a lot of songs that they did over those. How many days was it?
What, 3 or no? Like, God, what, 5 days, something like that.
5.
So I think that's what, about 28, 29 songs.
And they normally do in a regular concert. What have they been doing? Is it almost 20 or something?
Close. Like on the cruise, they were doing 15 each night.
Wow.
I got to say real quick too is I did see a video of Paul doing Every Time I Look at You on the acoustic thing, and he pulled it off, man. He, obviously it didn't sound like it used to, but the way he changed it, he made it sound good. It wasn't, it wasn't nothing to cringe about or anything like that. That's for sure.
Well, I think he's learned that, by default, he has to sing differently. And I think since they've down-tuned everything a little bit, or how, I don't remember exactly when they did that. It's been a couple of tours now.
Right.
And then he's actually not trying to hit those notes anymore. So, like you said, it's not cringing anymore. I was watching footage there for a while from like Sonic Boom all the way up till the last couple tours, and it's like I felt really bad for him, and I didn't really want anybody to see that footage. Anybody that's maybe not a Kiss fan wouldn't be impressed with that. And you've heard a lot of negative stuff, but I think he's really. I don't think his voice has got any better or any stronger.
Right.
But I think he's learned how to use what he has.
Yeah, he's definitely able to adjust. I mean, there's still times that you'll hear it crack here and there, certain verses and stuff, but for the most part, he's not trying to push it anymore, and doing all that whoa that stuff.
Right. And I don't think all that was necessary anyway. I mean, I know he's sort of notorious for that, type of thing. I was going to say from the 70s, but really in the 80s he did that probably even more so. Like on the Crazy Nights tour, he's singing, he's hitting notes that he probably couldn't ever hit after that.
Oh, I agree. And even like recent tours, like, I don't know, Sonic Boom on, there's like points in the show where like during the song he's doing a little extra, like, whoa, like almost like he's testing his voice before he sings the next part.
Right.
And then he would do that in between songs and stuff too. And to me that's what it always looked like he's just kind of testing it and trying to stretch it out a little bit or something. So who wants to go next?
Yeah, I'll go.
Okay.
All right, so my list, I also went in chronological order, and I was picturing just because this is a fantasy set list, how cool it would be if we could go whatever member was actually in Kiss at the time of the album, and it would be really cool if they even did the costume change-outs, you know.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I thought about that, and after I made the list, I was thinking, man, that'd be cooler. I should have done that.
Right. I'm sure it would be impossible to really do something like that, but just for the sake of it being a fantasy set list anyway, that would just take way too long. Change out the rigs and stuff to change musicians and the costumes. And
Oh God, yeah.
things like that. And then after that, I more or less just focused on songs you don't hear very often or ever. So,
Spectacles, testicles.
so I started out with 100,000 Years. Well, there's not really any songs from the first album that, other than Love Theme from Kiss, and who really wants to hear that? But I thought that would be an interesting way to open the show they don't normally do. Then Mainline from Hotter Than Hell. It's just this one I've always liked. You don't hardly ever hear. And to be honest, I'm not going to have a huge amount of Peter songs on here, so I've always liked Mainline, though. Room Service from Dress to Kill. Another weird but good one. Flaming Youth from Destroyer. I know they've done that one before, but that's just another one. It's not common, and I've always really liked that one.
Right, it works well.
It does. Then Love 'Em and Leave 'Em from Rock and Roll Over.
I almost picked that one.
Yes, that's a really good one.
I would love to see that, and then Gene has to do the same stuff he did in the video, though.
Yeah, yes.
And all the jumping and everything.
Yeah. And then I had Tomorrow and Tonight for Love Gun, because I was like, hey, they'd never played that one, and then they did. So thanks, Kiss, you ruined it. And then Alive 2 at Rocket Ride, because when you start getting into the later albums, you just can't beat some of the Ace stuff.
Oh, yeah.
The solo albums, that was a little different there. Gene Simmons, I had Mr. Make Believe. Ace also picked Speeding Back to My Baby.
I love that song.
Absolutely. Actually, for Peter, I had Hooked on Rock and Roll as well. And then for Paul's, I had Love and Chains.
I almost picked that one too. That's like between that and It's Alright. It was really hard to decide.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one I get stuck in my head, even just on a day-to-day when I'm not thinking about it. Dynasty, I had X-Ray Eyes.
Nice.
That's one I've always wanted to hear. I brought that up to Gino when we were talking about songs to do in Sweet Pain. I'm not 100% sure he knew what I was talking about. Nah, I'm kidding. He probably did.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too when I was making the list. I was thinking about you guys, and I was thinking, I wonder if you guys have ever tried to do Sure Know Something.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was trying to picture that in my head. It's like, that would sound really cool.
Well, we should put together a mixture of all three of our sets and play that as a set list.
Yes.
Oh, you asshole cat.
Okay, so then Unmasked got two sides of the coin. Again,
Okay.
the Ace stuff. Can't beat the Ace stuff on there. Except Talk to Me. You can definitely beat that.
Oh, you know that's your, you know that was your first choice.
Yeah. Music from the Elder, I did Under the Rose. That's one of my favorites on that one. And then for Creatures, I did Danger. That one might be one of my favorite Kiss songs of all time, even.
Hmm.
And then A Million to One You know what? I just realized I've kind of got I got a really hard Paul run going on right here too, and I accidentally skipped Killers. I had nowhere to run there for Killers.
Oh, okay.
And then I've Had Enough for the Animalize. I think I talked about that one on the episode we talked about album openers. That's
Oh, yeah. Hmm.
a great song. And then for Asylum, I'm Alive. Good fast one. You don't have a whole lot of real quick Paul songs, you know. But there you go. If you look at that, Nowhere to Run, Danger, Million to One, I've Had Enough, and I'm Alive.
Well, see that
You wouldn't be alive after that.
it's almost hard to avoid that when it comes to the non-makeup era because it was like predominantly Paul, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that might be why they don't do a lot of stuff, you know, because that's all they got to choose from, really, more or less.
Yeah.
Right.
Because, you know, there was no Ace, there was no Peter. Of course, Tommy and Eric wasn't around, so Vinny never done a song. Eric Carr only done the one, so... And then Gene's songs was like, what, maybe one or two an album, if that?
Yeah.
Right, and usually they weren't that good.
Yeah.
You know, passable, that sort of thing. Then went ahead and put Good Girl Gone Bad from Crazy Nights
Nice.
on there.
It's a good song.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of weird Gene songs, then jump into Hot in the Shade, I did Prisoner of Love.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's one I've always enjoyed. Jumping back to Paul for Revenge, though, with Heart of Chrome. I can't believe they've never done that one.
Yeah, really.
That one would have sounded great on a Live 3. That would have been crazy. Carnival of Souls have put It Never Goes Away. For Psycho, I had Dreamin'. Another one I was always kind of surprised they didn't try out live.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them on there. They've only done like, what, 2 songs off of there, or 3 altogether?
Yeah, they did Psycho and Within and Into the Void, I think, on that tour.
Yeah.
They did Pledge of Allegiance, too, didn't they? Or Pledge Allegiance to the State.
I think they did that one time
Mm-hmm.
on something, yeah.
And why didn't they do You Wanted the Best? Or did they?
As far as I know, they never did. And that you would think that would be a perfect... I mean, hell, that could almost be a show opener if you really think about it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to pick In Your Face but it's technically not from Psycho Circus because it was the bonus, whatever you call it, track.
Right.
Yeah, real quick, just speaking of that, come to find out, Gene wrote that song. And it's going to be on the vault, his original version, and it's going to have the Ace version on the vault too.
Nice.
And I guess when he recommended Ace do it, Ace said, "Okay, but I don't like your lyrics." And he's like, "All right." He's like, "You're free to change them up how you want." So I guess you'll be able to hear the difference. So just wanted to throw that out there.
That'd be cool.
So you're at what are you at? Sonic Boom.
Sonic Boom, yeah. I went ahead and put Dangerous on there.
Mm-hmm.
And then Monster, I put Wall of Sound. Almost put Eat Your Heart Out on there. I really wanted to, but I thought since we're getting like to the end of the set, that's definitely not an appropriate set ender. So then I went ahead and put an encore on here too, just really only because the rest of the set list wise doesn't necessarily work out that well, but for the sake of the idea that it would be cool to see all the different eras of Kiss and all their different costumes and stuff, I thought, what would be really cool is to end the whole thing with everybody coming back out.
Mm-hmm.
So you got everybody that's ever been in Kiss all on stage at once, and they just, Detroit Rock City, Deuce, Shout It Out Loud, Rock and Roll All Night, Just do the big hits that everybody's going to know that probably every lineup played. And then in honor of the cruise, I later added I on the very end.
Nice.
Just again, as a weird up. Oh, yeah, by the way, don't forget we did a bunch of weird songs.
Yeah, I like that idea because it's kind of, a la the Unplugged, but bigger, with everyone coming out. And, and whether they did like holograms for Eric Carr and Mark St. John or just had big pictures of them, that would be fine too.
Absolutely.
I would love to see that. Like, that's one of the things I want to see happen whenever the last show does happen, is everybody should be out there for at least the very end. So.
Right, at least rock and roll night.
Yes.
Or something.
Yeah.
Should be everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
With a band like Kiss, you think that's almost fitting that it would have to be that way, but
Right. It seems like a given.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it would just decide if Paul wants to do it. Is probably what it would come down to.
And it just comes to one of them things is we have to wait and see. And again, I hope it's not anytime soon, but whenever that inevitable time happens, I'm hoping that's the way they go out.
Yeah.
Well, they could make that a pay-per-view special. I mean, they could be like do it at Madison Square Garden or something.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'd pay to watch that for sure.
Shit, I don't know though. As long as it's somewhere in the United States, I would probably have to do my damnedest to be at that show.
That's true too.
That would be a tough one to miss.
Yeah, New York's not that far, is it?
I mean, I don't care if it's in California or something either. That's one I wouldn't be able to miss.
Sure.
All right. So with mine, again, I tried to stick to chronological order. I tried to, pretty much stick to the songs that they've never done live, or I think in some cases there may be some that were just barely performed, ever. All right. So starting off, love theme from Kiss. I want to hear it.
Nice.
But really, I'm not even really thinking of it as like the band is playing it first. Like, I'm thinking of it as playing over the PA as like a show opener, almost like an intro or something. And then they come out, and you wanted the best, and it goes into Strange Ways as when the band's out there full blown. And a little change that I want to make with Strange Ways is Ace is singing it, not Peter. Because, by the way, I'm kind of, I guess in my mind, I'm kind of doing like we did on the one where, each lineup is playing, those eras or whatever. So,
right.
In my mind, Ace is singing Strange Ways, not Peter. So then we go to Two Timer from Gene. And then I went with Sweet Pain from Destroyer, which, they finally did it for the first time, but hey, why not? I'd definitely like to hear it again.
Yeah.
And then into Mr. Speed. And then bounce back to Gene for Plaster Caster. And then we'll go over to Ace, hand the microphone over to Ace for Rocket Ride. And then Ace is going to stay up there and do Ozone. And all three of us are on the same page, hooked on rock and roll. And then Paul will be doing It's All Right. And then Gene burning up with Fever. And then back to Ace for Hard Times.
Nice.
And then Naked City, which just listened to that again yesterday. I love the bass line in that song. That hooks me. The tone of it and everything. I think me and Luke were the same on this one. Under the Rose. And then the one I always probably say the most for Creatures, Saint and Sinner. I want to hear them do that so bad. And then Partners in Crime. And then now with the non-makeup stuff, jump over, do 1,000,001, and then Burn Bitch Burn. And then we have Secretly Cruel, My Way. And this one I had to throw in kind of just as a joke, but it'd be funny to hear Read My Body.
Yeah, that would be funny to hear.
And then we go back to Gene and do Spit.
Nice.
I almost picked that.
And then we stick with Gene and do I Confess. Love that song. To me, that sounds like it could have been on his 78 solo album. It just, to me, sounds like the 78 Gene on that song. I thought it was on that album the first time I heard that song. So jumping over to Psycho Circus, Raise Your Glasses. And then Russian Roulette. And then the last one, Monster, Freak. And I'll go ahead and do like a little encore too. This will, again, everybody comes out. God Gave Rock and Roll to You. And then Nothing to Lose. And then, of course, gotta do Rock and Roll All Night to end it all. I don't know. It's like I turned it into a final show at the same time. I don't know why, but but I would like to see that happen. You know, as a dream set list. But so I don't know. We definitely had a lot of similar choices on a lot of the picks when it comes down to it.
Yeah.
Looks like. Well, maybe not as many as I thought, but a nice selection. Good mix.
Yeah.
Of course, I'll sit and listen to all three of those now. Always like to do that. So now it's what?
This is a stupid question. It's off the top of my head. What makes Rock and Roll Night stand out as? I mean, I know it's sort of the lyrics and everything, you know, and why it was written and all that kind of stuff, but over the years, it didn't used to be the last song, and I'm trying to figure out how it became the, you know, because almost every concert from a certain point on, there's been a few exceptions here and there, it hasn't been, you know, it's been the last song, and I wonder why I just wonder why people expect it to be the last one. I mean, I do.
Right.
I don't know. Pretty much during the 70s, it was the last song, but then in the 80s, they just like switched it up, and you know, into the 90s, because they used to close with what was it? Sometimes it'd be like Black Diamond or even Love Gun.
I saw a lot of set lists with Detroit at the end.
Yeah.
Which personally, I don't really understand it. I don't know that I personally feel it's a good show ender, but.
Or like during the Revenge era, they were closing with you know, Star Spangled Banner.
Right.
Well, there's a show that I've seen that I have on bootleg. I think it's in Sao Paulo, and they end with Heaven's on Fire. It's like,
wow.
Paul sets the guitar on fire, and then he breaks it.
Wow. I've never seen that.
You've never seen that?
No.
It's like, that's really strange.
I think it kind of started right when the reunion, and then with, you know, Unplugged and then the reunion, it's like, I think they realized Rock and Roll Night is pretty much our national anthem, which is what Paul started saying.
Well, and they had such a big hit with it back in the 70s, and a lot of people that's not like a serious Kiss fan, there's only a couple of songs they can name, and that's always one of them, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Right.
And, you know, it really is a great closer. It's a great up-tempo, good, it makes you feel good, party, and, you know, all the confetti and stuff going on. But, hey, at the same time, it's proven that other songs can work too, like and
right.
stuff that they've done in the past. So,
yeah. I've always felt that song does a really good job of representing everything that Kiss is about. Lyrically, at least the chorus lyrically, and then just musically.
Right.
If you want to hear what Kiss truly is, and you only got time to listen to one song, probably the Alive One version of Rock and Roll All Night's the way to go.
Mm-hmm. I love that version, but I also love the studio version probably just a little bit more. I mean, that was probably the first version I heard, and that's it. Just for some reason, that version does a little more to me than the live version. It hits a little better,
I wish they'd put a guitar solo in it. That's the only issue I have with it. Other than that, yeah, I'd go with studio all day.
Yeah, and it's where was I going? I forget anyway.
Well, I noticed on Alive, I don't know if it's the exact set list that they played, because I know it was recorded for several shows for Alive, and I don't know if they edited it together or how, but Let Me Go Rock and Roll is the last song on side 4.
True, yeah.
Were they doing that at the time, or?
I think so.
I mean, I should know that, but I'm not real sure.
See, I might be wrong when I say this, but if you watch, one of those, like the Kobo shows, I want to say they do that last, but I could be wrong. It's been a while since I watched it.
One of those shows, they were doing, I don't know which one they did first, and then they did the next one, and then Gene was singing the wrong lyrics of the one they just did.
Oh, yeah.
Or the one they were going to do. I don't remember which. So I know they probably switched them. I don't know if they switched them back and forth or if they always did them in a certain order there.
Yeah, he started singing Rock and Roll All Night on Let Me Go Rock and Roll. And,
right.
Yeah. Yep.
Just mumbling stuff. I was going to say, Rock and Roll All Night, God Gave Rock and Roll, Shout It Out Loud, and even You Wanted the Best, and Stand. To me, those are like the songs that really embody Kiss, and what it's all about. To this day, they play God Gave Rock and Roll to You over the PA at the end of the show, and
I thought you was going to say "Read My Body."
I wish they would, right?
Yeah, that's everything they believe in that one song.
Oh man, that and Love 'Em and Leave 'Em and Take Me and that kind of stuff. Got a stiff proposition.
Well, I was watching some Tommy interviews, and he was saying that when he first started working for Kiss, as far as like writing, he was already working for Kiss, behind the scenes, and then Gene asked him to write some stuff with him, and that was for Hot in the Shade.
Oh,
so
wow.
I don't know if he has any credits on that album or not, but he was writing stuff for Hot in the Shade, which all of those are demos, right? So
pretty much, yeah.
There's a good chance he played on it, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know if that's if he meant one or the other or both, because he wasn't specific.
Right. I feel like, and I may be wrong, but I feel like he's got credits on Betrayed and maybe The Street Giveth and The Street Taketh Away.
Okay, maybe that's what it was then.
Wow.
Oh, he was involved, and of course he's got credits on, I think, Psycho Circus as well as Bruce Kulick.
Yeah. Yeah, think about that. Like, technically, in a way, at least on record, Tommy and Bruce were in the band at the same time.
Yeah.
With Paul.
And so was Ace.
Yeah. So, like, imagine if they...
And Peter and Eric, too, really.
Yeah, so there you go. It's like that super version of Kiss that they should always do.
Yeah, I mean, I just wonder how many of them was in the studio at one time.
Exactly, yeah.
I would have loved to see that. I mean, of course, we've talked about footage we've never seen of them in the studio recording this and that. It's like, I just wonder how much of that exists or if any of it does.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only studio footage I've seen is Carnival and, maybe a tad bit of, like, Revenge, but, yeah, even like Psycho Circus, I'd love to see some stuff of that now, let alone, the 70s stuff and all that. That would be, but Ace was probably just sending in his vocals from his studio. He probably didn't even show up half the time.
Probably.
Yeah, that's just interesting. Like, yeah, do it on record, but not live.
Well, I think over a period of time, a short period of time, you've heard the stuff about how Tommy helped them relearn their parts and stuff for the reunion tour.
Oh yeah.
And as time went on, by the time they got to Psycho Circus, and of course Farewell, I mean, I think Ace probably resented Tommy a lot.
Oh yeah.
Because he was still visible. I mean, he was still working for Kiss, so he would see him all the time, and I think it probably. And then of course when he was in makeup and costume a couple times there when they didn't know if Ace was going to make it or show up or whatever. So I bet he probably resented him a lot. But to hear interviews with Ace now, he acts like it's no big deal. So I don't know if he got over it or or what.
Yeah, I don't know. I would feel a little like I wasn't necessarily, part of the band or that appreciated if I walked in and there was a guy standing wearing your same stuff, looking like a clone, ready to go on stage at a moment's notice, almost like it's nothing to replace you. You know what I mean?
I mean, I sort of look at that both ways. It's sort of like, Ace knows that he's not dependable. I've heard him say, that he's not as efficient by himself as he is when he's with Kiss, on their schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And then he knows that, and then he knows how Paul and Gene is. And if they've already booked a show, especially, and it's like right there, and the crowd is already there and everything, it's almost like, and Peter would know this because they left, Japan and took Eric, so they're not going to cancel the show unless they have to. And I think Peter and Ace probably, they do know that.
Yeah,
they know it now.
Yeah, part of that is on Ace, for showing up that late. But the way, if I'm not mistaken, the way I understand it, though, he had missed a couple flights, and that's why he got there so late. And he pretty much, by the time he finally flew out there and got on stage, it was like, 12, 15 hours, and then he pretty much literally showed up, got in makeup and costume, and went straight on stage. I mean, that says a lot, too. So
yeah, it does.
And, and then when they got to the point of Ace punching Tommy at that one point backstage, too, so that was a whole other thing. And,
because I guess that one of the interviews I watched with Tommy recently, he was saying that his unofficial first show was that Jamaica show, that private show.
mm-hmm.
And he said that they asked Ace about that, and Ace just flat out said, I don't want to do it.
Huh.
So they didn't even have to worry about, is he going to do it or not? And then, of course, Tommy's first show was Kiss Symphony, officially.
Right. Keep forgetting what I was going to say. Cat did it.
I'm glad I'm not the only one with bad memory. Because I guess Tommy's been in the band for 15, 18 years or something like that now? It's been a long time.
This has been the longest standing lineup now, hasn't it? By quite a lot.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. Because he's been around longer than even Bruce was now.
There's no point in being mad now.
Right.
Oh, yeah. At this point, they could still give their opinion on it and everything, but
I think a lot of what helps a lot is, of course, time, has a tendency to change things, but I think, all the cruises, Eric and Tommy's been on all the cruises from the first one on, and then they've also done 2 studio albums, and how many tours have they done, with the current lineup? So there's been so much that they've achieved that the other lineups haven't, I guess.
Ace and or Peter have had the chance to do shows with Kiss, but they've denied doing it themselves, or turned it down. I meant,
Right.
if it wasn't for them kind of holding themselves back, I could easily see Ace being on the cruise playing his own set or whatever. And then there could be that possibility. You never know if he can get up and do a couple songs with them, even if it's the acoustic set or something. You know.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I can understand to an extent about, you know, you're looking at that guy that, you know, yada yada yada. We've heard it a million times, but it's been so many years now. It's like, come on, get over it, move on. That's what they told me. Move on. Whoa, whoa.
I see what you did there.
The time is at hand. The day is upon us.
Well, see, this could happen.
Yeah, see?
So,
You know, it's like people have said before, as much as, you know, they have, you know, their opinions about it, Ace and Peter. Peter sure had no problem doing all them shows with Tommy.
Yeah.
At the time. You know, he didn't say a word then.
yeah, I just wonder if it was the money that satisfied him, or because Ace did the same thing, you know, with Eric.
Yeah,
and,
exactly, true. Yeah.
and they said that the Ace and Eric lineup was like, and I've seen footage from those shows. Those are some really, really good shows.
Yeah, I've said before, that might be my favorite lineup of Kiss, you know, next to the original four. I mean, that stuff sounded so much better. Those two just, you know, Bruce and Eric clicked, but Ace and Eric were just that much more connected, I felt. You know, look up clips on YouTube of that. I think it's the Osaka show. I mean, insane. To steal a song title from Tommy, it's out of this world.
Wasn't that the I don't know what they call it, what they called it at the time, but it was like the internet. It was like the streaming. That concert, wasn't that the streaming one?
I think they did stream that one live at the time. You know,
Which I don't know how well that went over, but
yeah, because the only ones I could think of were that Last Kiss that was on pay-per-view, and then they streamed that one, and then that they did that one show on Access TV that was live
from Zurich.
Yeah, and that's been, I don't know, what, 5 years now, maybe? I don't know. So 3-4 years, something like that. But so it kind of makes you wonder. I'd like to see another one. You know, let's have it more often.
I think they should stream every show.
That would be nice.
It's amazing they haven't
I
done that.
I wish they would even do what Metallica does, is, you know, at least put the audio of every show on your website.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. You know, with Metallica and some of those other bands, and Metallica is probably the one that stands out as far as how much stuff they've released, and how much access they give to their fans that other bands don't. And you know, they do that for two reasons: one, because that's what the fans want, and two, because that's the kind of people they are, because they're connected with their fans, because they are fans, or that, you know, they started out, they haven't lost that, you know,
Right.
being a fan of music. So it's like this Master of Puppets box set that came out. Have you seen that?
Yeah,
It's like 10 CDs, and you know, it's just insane.
that's exactly what I was getting ready to say. All them deluxe editions that they've put out, look at how much stuff comes with all those. That's exactly how Kiss should be doing it, if not even bigger. You know, the Love Gun CD thing, you know, that was kind of cool, but pales in comparison to what all could have been, you know, included with a box set or something. You know, let alone all the demos that they left off that could have been on there and everything else.
You know, Kiss has been recording their shows probably since the reunion. Everything probably. How many shows has that been? You know, and we haven't seen any audio or video from any of those shows other than the few DVDs that came out.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
other than the Vegas show, which was all just one concert, we haven't seen any kind of...
Rock the Nation, Vegas, and was there another one?
I think Vegas was the last one.
Symphony was the other one, but that's really it. Yeah.
I mean, we haven't seen like a compilation of, you know, kind of like how Kissology was. You know, it's just pretty much been straightforward concerts that's been released when they have released anything anytime recent.
Well, even back going back to Metallica, back when I don't know what year it was exactly, but they had that box set, the Binge and Purge box set,
Yeah,
and it had I don't know how many shows on it, audio and video.
yeah. At this point, we've now completed 7 cruises. I would say at least take the first 5 and do like a best of those.
Yeah.
And then, a few years down the road, once they hit 10, if that happens, volume 2 with those,
Well, has either one of you guys noticed in the footage that you've watched of the cruises, is there a professional, are they filming it, or is it because it's, because sometimes it's on the screen behind them and sometimes it's just the logo. So does that mean that there's still a feed going on, or do there have to be cameras actually aimed at them? I mean, I don't know how that works.
Well, with that video feed that's on the screen, that everything that you see on that screen is being captured to some sort of video device. I mean, there's certain bootlegs, I know, like from the reunion tour specifically, where what you're watching on camera is the feed that came from that video screen.
Yeah.
So I guarantee that they've been having to archive it. Matter of fact, I can't remember if it was a clip from the cruise or it was a clip from a concert they did in the summer, but there was a point where there was somebody in the front row that had a video camera. You could tell they worked with them or whatever. They were filming fans, like asking them questions and stuff. So I was wondering right there, like, could they be filming for like a DVD to put together, some sort of compilation, or even just another concert film or something.
Yeah.
So they were they obviously weren't filming for nothing. So who knows what it might be for. But
what was that footage? There was something, and it was before the Vegas thing, at the theaters with that extra stuff. There was some footage. I don't know if it was on their website or on something, and it was backstage footage of them. I don't know if they were putting on their makeup or if they already had their makeup and stuff on, and Doc McGee was in it, and it was just like not even 5 minutes of footage that they said, well, if you do this, then you can see this footage. I don't remember what it was now, and that's just probably very minimal of what they do film.
Speaking of that little documentary that was in the theaters, I wonder if that's leaked out anywhere, because for whatever reason they didn't put it on the DVD or anything.
Yeah.
I wonder if you can get that anywhere.
Well, no, haven't thought to look for it, but
yeah, because that was pretty interesting, the stuff that they showed on that thing. I personally liked the acoustic part of that Vegas DVD the best. I mean, the show is what it is.
That's something else. They do that every night practically, so they could release a DVD of just that stuff.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
That too. Yeah.
I mean, there's so much stuff that they could be doing.
Put together a compilation of that, call it, I don't know, Kiss Meet and Greet, Volume 1 or whatever,
Or how about Unplugged Junior?
There you go. Yeah, put out a compilation of all that stuff, put out a compilation of the cruise stuff. Yeah, always, Kissology 4 is always in the back of our minds, but it's just like, is it ever going to happen? I don't know.
Well, I've looked online, and I'd say 80% of what was supposed to be on Kissology 4 is online.
Yeah, at this
There's
point.
only a couple shows that I couldn't find on there.
And, me personally, Kissology 4, like, I get it, put some shows from, the recent, tours, lineups, but I would rather see more of the stuff from back in the old days, and back up, that the lost footage, or whatever you want to call it, like they used to do the Lost Cities tour, like revisit those eras again with more footage that nobody's ever seen, or, hell, even like, the official live video, like officially released by them on the DVD or something.
Yeah, I would like to see a lot more footage from the no makeup stuff. You know, Kissology 2 was always my favorite, just for that.
Yes.
Even like the Creatures era stuff. You know,
Yes,
there's
yes.
so little footage out there of Benny in makeup.
Yeah, and what footage there is of it's all pretty bad quality. There's nothing that's
Yeah.
like real good, soundboard type stuff or whatever. I would love to see at least like one show with Mark St. John.
Yeah.
Or, even if it's like one song or two that they could throw on there as like an Easter egg or something.
Well, that's the thing that I've always been real surprised about. Kiss of all bands, because they're very visual, and then Gene being, keeping everything and all that, like you said, the socks from the 70s or whatever.
Yeah.
If he keeps that, why in the world weren't they filming every era of the band? Makeup,
Right.
non-makeup, whether the tour was doing good or not, you'd think they would just automatically be always filming everything, because it just seems odd to me that a lot of that stuff supposedly doesn't exist, and to a certain degree I believe that some of it doesn't,
Right.
or it would have surfaced by now. I mean, I don't want to be negative, but I hope I'm wrong, because like a full Creatures show, a pro shot that's not all edited like the one that's on Kissology,
Yeah.
which I guess that's something that was broadcast on Brazilian TV, I'm not sure.
Hmm. Yeah, but I still haven't seen like a complete Creatures show, or even at least one that's quality that's worth listening to. Or
Right.
I mean, hell, even the freaking vinyl bootleg is not the greatest sound quality either. I mean, it's just like an audience recording. So, yeah. So if Gene still has a bag of stage-worn socks from the 70s, and the actual demo cassette for It's My Life and all that, there's got to be all that other stuff. If he's got little things like that you wouldn't think of, there's got to be.
Well, and like with Creatures, for example, after The Elder and all that stuff, they really went back to being what they've even described in interviews at that time. We're a heavy metal band. They were saying we're a metal band, and they never said that before, and they were trying to prove something. So with that being said, why in the world weren't they filming stuff? And I know you couldn't really release it at that point because VHS wasn't probably. I don't know if they could have made any money releasing VHS at that point. What was that? 82, 82, 83. So still, I think they would just. Because if you watch some of that footage that does exist of Gene, he's like more in character than he ever was.
Yeah.
So, he just I mean, they all felt that they were out to prove something. But
he was like literally a monster on that tour, and you could tell they were pissed off.
Yeah.
I don't, I've always kind of wondered too, like, say like Lydia Chris, she's had a lot of them candid, photos like what she put in her book. I wonder sometimes like if she has any like film footage that she took in those days, or Eric Carr's family, they put out that Tale of the Fox DVD with a lot of personal footage. Kind of makes you wonder if they have any of that kind of stuff. I mean, maybe if they do, they're just not allowed to release it, or whatever the case might be. But
Right.
Well, that one channel on YouTube, I think it's the one that has the Casablanca book. They release a little bit of a footage of something, and then if you pledge money or whatever, they release a little bit more. I don't know if it's the right channel I'm thinking of, but
yeah.
you can see that. I'd say almost all of that footage I've never seen. But yeah, I know there's a lot more of that footage that exists, and who owns that stuff, and where are they getting it?
True. So I just wonder where it's at, who has it. I'd hate to be, one of them things where we don't see that kind of stuff released until Gene and Paul's gone, which, you know, I hate to even think about. But
Yeah.
it's like, is that what it's going to take, you know, to see a lot of this stuff that's been held back? Who knows? I mean, there's just tons of stuff. You know, we mentioned about Phantom. I bet there's deleted scenes out there, or, you know, outtakes and things like that. I'd love to see that kind of stuff. You know.
Yeah, I don't know. Do they own the rights to the original one, or you think they just own the rights to the European version? Which I don't know what the difference would be.
I think so. I think Hanna-Barbera still owns, or whatever Hanna-Barbera turned into, or whoever owns them now, whatever it is, still is the ones that own that.
I mean, they could put together a great deluxe package of that.
And I think it's all a matter of Gene and Paul doesn't want it. Otherwise, we probably would have had it years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or they got to put money towards, you know, getting something done, and I don't think they want to spend a lot of money.
I'll put it this way. Next year, being the 40th anniversary, if they don't do something with it then, we'll never see anything. If they don't do something for the 40th anniversary of that movie, you know, putting it out officially on Blu-ray finally or something, I don't think we'll ever see anything officially released by them. Alright, well, that's going to do it for this week. We're going to wrap things up now, get out of here. Again, leave in the comments of the video, Facebook page, share with us your idea of a dream, deep cuts set list or cruise set list, whichever way you want to put it. Again, if anyone was on the cruise, contact us. We'd love to have you on the show and give a nice detailed recount. Post some, feel free to put some photos and videos on our page as well. So contact us either way. All right then, so until next week, we will see y'all later.